As some of you may already know, I am still new to Linux and I created this channel to capture my journey. I also hope that by doing so it might encourage others to make the switch too. One of the most interesting parts of that switch has not been Linux itself though, it's been the comment section. In this video I talk about how people have responded to my journey, the assumptions that show up in comments and how those reactions have become part of the learning experience itself. Earlier this year I walked away from Windows as a daily driver for good. For over 30 years I was a total Windows fanboy, starting with Windows 3.1. You see, that is a long time. It was familiar, it was comfortable, it was just what I'd always used. So let me be clear, when I talk about Linux, this is coming from someone who made a pretty big switch fairly recently. I've learned a lot very quickly and I am still learning. But before getting into it, I want to acknowledge something up front. My thumbnails and titles are designed to hopefully stop you from scrolling. The thumbnail is supposed to catch your eye and the title should give you a reason to click. That's how YouTube works apparently. I'm comfortable owning that. On the whole, I'm pretty sure the content always matches what the title and the thumbnail suggest. If you watch the video or read the description, it's pretty clear what the channel is about. I am a Linux noob sharing my experience, what I've tried and how it feels. Now, most of the comments I get from you all are bloody awesome. I read every comment and I really appreciate the engagement. People share their journeys, they offer suggestions, they say things like, yeah, I ran into that too. That side of the Linux community, particularly here, has been incredibly supportive and encouraging. There is another pattern though. It shows up often enough that it feels worth talking about. Some commenters come in with very corrective tone, things like, you should have done this instead, or this is not how that distro is meant to be used, or anyone serious would already know that, or my favourite one, you're wrong, this distro is better because. Most of the time these comments are just confident and direct. They are rarely outright hostile. What really stands out is the assumption behind them. My videos are not presenting a right way of doing things. They are not guides or tutorials. They are not recommendations. They are simply a record of what I tried and how it felt while learning. It's just my thoughts on things. When commenters respond as if I'm making a claim or giving advice, the conversation often goes sideways. The response ends up aimed at something that was never actually said. It sometimes feels like people only respond to the thumbnail and title, and that they may not have even watched the video, and I'm okay with that, it's still engagement. And I do understand why this happens though. Linux has a strong culture around research and self-learning. Searching first, reading documentation, checking the wiki, and knowing the rules are all deeply embedded expectations. I'm guessing that from the point of view of someone who has been using Linux for years, that makes total sense. It keeps discussions focused and avoids repeating the same explanations over and over. From the point of view of someone newer, however, especially someone learning by doing, that expectation can feel harder to navigate. Personally, I learn by doing. I like trying things, breaking things and fixing things, and then try to understand why something behaved the way that it did. That's just how my brain works. Documentation makes more sense to me after I have had hands-on experience. I connect the dots once I've actually hit a problem and worked through it. So when someone says read the fucking manual or just read the wiki, it does not really help me learn faster. It highlights a difference in learning style rather than a lack of effort. That difference shows up very clearly in the comments. Some people like to read and understand everything up front. Others learn through experimentation and problem solving. Both approaches exist across Linux and pretty much in general life, and they both can work. The real tension shows up when one approach is treated as the only acceptable way. I notice this more often on videos about certain distros, including Arch and CachyOS. These communities tend to attract very knowledgeable and confident users, which does often bring a lot of value. I also see thoughtful, patient and generally helpful comments from users of the same distros. What really sticks with me though is thinking about how this looks to people who are even newer and earlier in their Linux journey than I am. The people who are not commenting, the people who are quietly watching and reading, the people who are trying to decide whether Linux is right for them. When learning Linux looks like something you have to justify before speaking, that can put people off, even when the OS itself is great. So this is where I land on it. I'm going to keep making videos from a beginner's perspective. I'm going to keep learning by doing, and I'm going to keep sharing what worked for me and what did not. When people respond to what the video actually is about, the conversation is so much better. At the end of the day, we are all Linux users. Different distros, different experience levels, different ways of learning and different ways of thinking, but we all choose to be here. Making space for that variety makes Linux stronger and it makes more people feel comfortable sticking around. If you've made it this far, I really do appreciate you. Feel free to pop a comment below or just add an emoji if you're one of the quieter ones. It really does make a difference. Thank you so much for watching. You guys take care, and I'll catch you in the next one.